Earth was quiet. A peaceful morning had just begun when everything changed. The sky above was suddenly filled with the shadows of massive alien ships. They were unlike anything humanity had ever seen, dark, metallic, and ominous. The Zinthar, a highly advanced alien race, had come to Earth. Their mission was simple: conquer the planet, take its resources, and wipe out humanity. At first, the world didn't know what hit them. The Zinthar's ships released powerful energy blasts that obliterated Earth's defenses in minutes. Fighter jets, tanks, and military satellites tried to fight back, but they were no match for the aliens' superior technology. Cities across the globe were reduced to rubble in a matter of hours. The once bustling capitals of the world, New York, Paris, Tokyo, now lay in ruins, their streets filled with dust and smoke. Humanity was thrown into chaos. The Zinthars' attack was ruthless. They had no interest in communication or negotiation. They simply destroyed everything in their path, ensuring that no human could resist. The remaining governments tried to fight, but there was no hope. The Zinthar were too strong. Their energy weapons disintegrated entire armies. Their soldiers, towering and powerful, crushed all resistance with ease. There were no safe havens left. As said, the last human cities fell. The Zinthar declared victory. The planet was theirs. The few remaining survivors, those who had managed to escape the chaos, were either hunted down or captured. The Zinthar's dark ships filled the skies as they took control of Earth's resources, leaving no room for rebellion. Humanity was finished, or so they thought. Deep beneath the surface of Earth, far from the Zinthar's reach, a small group of survivors remained. They had been hidden from the aliens, carefully watching as the invaders ravaged the world above. These survivors were not soldiers, not the warriors who had fought in Earth's last stand. They were ordinary people, scientists, engineers, and civilians who had found refuge in underground bunkers before the Zinthar's arrival. For months, they lived in silence, knowing the world above was lost to them. But they refused to give up. They were not going to let humanity vanish without a fight. The survivors had made it their mission to rebuild, to learn how to survive in the wake of the Zinthar's attack. They were resourceful. They used the technology that had been left behind: abandoned satellites, damaged equipment, and even ancient human inventions, and began to work together. Engineers repaired old communication systems. Scientists used their knowledge to gather data on the Zinthar, studying the enemy from the safety of their hidden base. They scoured the underground tunnels, searching for anything that could be useful. One day, as they were tinkering with an old radio system, something incredible happened. A signal came through, weak but clear. It was an old Earth message, one that had somehow survived the Zinthar's destruction. It was a signal from the outside world, from a space station orbiting Earth before the attack. The survivors couldn't believe it. The message was brief but hopeful. We are still here. Earth is not lost. We will return. Revenge is coming. The survivors looked at each other in stunned silence. This message, this small beacon of hope, was their sign. They weren't alone. There were others out there, somewhere in the stars, waiting for the right moment to come back. The Zinthar had underestimated humanity. They thought they had wiped them out, but they were wrong. The human spirit had not been broken. It was alive and ready to fight. For the survivors, this was more than just a sign of life. It was a call to action. They had spent months in hiding, but now they knew what they had to do. They began to plan. They had resources, technology, and the will to fight. But they also knew they couldn't do it alone. It was time to make contact with the other survivors, the ones who had escaped the initial onslaught. It was time to rise up. Captain Elaine Arias, once a decorated officer in Earth's military, became the leader of the survivors. She was determined, focused, and fearless. Under her leadership, the survivors began to organize. They used the old Earth signal to contact allies on distant planets who had escaped the Zinthar's wrath. They knew the battle would be difficult, but they also knew that humanity had one thing the Zinthar didn't expect: hope. The plan was set in motion. The humans would return to the surface. They would rebuild their army and take back what was rightfully theirs. They would have to be careful, though. The Zinthar were everywhere, and their forces were vast. But this time, humanity wasn't going to fight alone. They had the knowledge, the strength, and most importantly, the determination to take Earth back. And so, the survivors prepared. They gathered weapons, trained soldiers, and reassembled old ships. They had learned much about the Zinthar's weaknesses during their months of hiding. They knew what they had to do. It wasn't going to be easy, but it was the only choice. The Zinthar thought they had destroyed humanity, but they had no idea what was coming. Earth was far from lost. The humans were coming back, and this time, it wasn't about survival. It was about revenge. As Captain Rise and her team ready their forces, a final, haunting message arrives from the surface. The Zinthar have discovered the survivors' presence. They know the humans are the world had burned. Cities once full of life now stood in ruins, silent monuments to an invasion that had nearly wiped out humanity. The Zinthar, an alien race of unimaginable power, had arrived on Earth, striking fast and hard. They had left no stone unturned, no city untouched. Humanity was scattered, broken, and almost destroyed. But there were those who survived. And they weren't going to let Earth fall so easily to die in the underground bunkers. Far from the Zinthar's watchful eyes, a small group of survivors had been rebuilding. They were the last hope of humanity. They had spent months hidden beneath the surface, carefully gathering what was left, learning how to survive, and more importantly, waiting for the right moment to strike back. They had lost their world, but they hadn't lost their spirit. Captain Elena Reyes, a former military officer, led the survivors. Strong, determined, and resourceful, she had always known the importance of resilience. After all, she had fought in the final days before Earth's fall. But now, she was leading a new fight, a fight to reclaim their home. The humans had spent weeks scavenging through the wreckage of Earth's cities, collecting technology left behind by the Zinthar. Though much of it was beyond their understanding, the survivors were skilled and clever. They had learned, adapted, and built. Using what little technology remained, they began to construct weapons and machinery, using old blueprints and forgotten knowledge from before the invasion. The humans were not weak anymore. They had turned their desperation into strength. One cold morning, Elena stood before a group of fighters. The time had come to make their move. The Zinthar had assumed that Earth's resistance was finished. They were wrong. Elena had studied their enemy, learning everything she could from the wreckage left behind. It was time to show them that humanity was still a force to be reckoned with. "We can't take on the entire Zinthar fleet just yet," Elena said, her voice steady. "But we can strike. We'll start small. Guerrilla tactics. Hit them where it hurts." The first mission was simple but dangerous. Destroy a small Zinthar outpost that was controlling communications in the area. It was heavily guarded, but it wasn't invincible. The survivors had learned the art of stealth. Under Elena's leadership, they moved quickly and quietly. Armed with scavenged weapons and improvised explosives, they hit the Zinthar where they least expected it, right in the heart of their patrols. The attack was a success. Zinthar soldiers, caught off guard, were overwhelmed. In the blink of an eye, the humans had turned the tables. It wasn't a massive victory, but it was enough. The Zinthar were stunned. They had believed humanity to be nothing more than an extinct species, wiped out by their assault. But the survivors had just shown them they were very much alive. They ignited the spark of rebellion. With this first victory, the human resistance began to grow. Across the globe, survivors who had hidden in the shadows came forward. Those who had thought Earth was lost now saw a glimmer of hope. Cities that had been abandoned began to stir once more. Former soldiers, engineers, and civilians joined forces. The survivors shared knowledge, skills, and resources. Humanity was uniting against the Zinthar invaders. The Zinthar, caught off guard by the resurgence of humanity, began to struggle. Their once impenetrable control over Earth began to crack. They had underestimated human resolve. Elena's guerrilla attacks continued, with each small victory emboldening more and more survivors to rise up. The Zinthar thought their domination of Earth would be easy. Now, they were realizing that the fight was far from over. But there was more to discover. While digging through the ruins of an old military base, Elena and a small team of engineers made a shocking discovery. Deep beneath the surface of Earth, hidden from the Zinthor's grasp, they found a secret weapon unlike anything the invaders had ever seen. The weapon was ancient, buried long before the Zinthor had arrived. It was more powerful than anything humanity had ever created, a relic from Earth's forgotten past. It could potentially turn the tide of the war, but using it was dangerous. No one knew how it worked, and there was a high risk that activating it could trigger an unknown consequence. It was a risk that could either lead to victory or destruction. Elena stood before the weapon, her heart pounding. The decision wasn't easy. Should they take the chance and use the ancient weapon? Or should they continue fighting with the guerrilla tactics that had been so effective so far? The Zinthor were coming in full force, their patrols growing larger and more dangerous. Time was running out. Captain, one of the engineers spoke up. This could be the turning point we need. If we can control it, we'll have the power to end this. But we don't know what could happen if we're wrong. Elena paused, weighing the options. She thought about all the lives lost, all the people who had fought and died before her. Could they really afford to wait any longer? She looked at the faces of her team, seeing the hope and determination in their eyes. They had made it this far, and they couldn't stop now. Do it, she said, her voice firm. We take the risk. We don't have a choice. The decision was made. The weapon would be activated. ASA. The engineers worked to unlock the weapon. Elena couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching them. Were they really ready to face the full power of this ancient technology? And if they succeeded, would the Zinthor be prepared for what was coming? The battle for Earth had only just begun, and its outcome would change the fate of the entire galaxy. The war against the Zinthor had reached its most dangerous stage. Earth's survivors had once cowered beneath the surface, hidden away from the alien invaders who had crushed their world. But now, with a powerful ancient weapon in their hands, they were no longer just defending, they were fighting for victory. The Zinthor thought they had defeated humanity, but they had no idea what the humans had discovered. The tide was beginning to turn. Captain Elena Reyes stood at the head of the resistance. Her heart pounded as she surveyed the battlefield ahead. Her team had spent months carefully planning their next move, and now the time had come. The ancient weapon, a force capable of unimaginable destruction, was ready to be used. It was their best shot at reclaiming Earth and striking a blow to the Zinthor that would shake them to their core. "Ready, Captain!" a voice called out from behind her. Elena turned to see her team, their faces grim but determined. She nodded, gripping the weapon tightly. They had faced unimaginable odds before, but this was different. This time, they had something the Zinthor didn't expect. This time, they had a chance. The target was a massive Zinthor fortress, a stronghold that had been controlling one of their most powerful warships. Taking it down would deal a heavy blow to their forces, and for the first time, it felt like humanity might actually stand a chance. With a battle cry, Elena led the charge. Her team moved swiftly, using their new technology to break through Zinthor defenses. The ancient weapon, now powered by a combination of human ingenuity and forgotten knowledge, unleashed a surge of energy that ripped through the alien barricades. Zinthor soldiers fell back in confusion, unprepared for the force that had just hit them. As the humans advanced, they encountered heavy resistance. The Zinthor were not backing down, but the weapon was proving its worth. With each blast, their strongholds crumbled. Elena felt a surge of hope. For the first time in years, she saw the Zinthor falter. In a fierce battle, they finally reached the heart of the Zinthor fortress. Elena could hear the crackling of energy as the weapon's power surged through the air. She gave the signal, and her team unleashed the final blast, destroying the Zinthor warship. It exploded in a shower of fire and debris, a massive victory for humanity. The Zinthor forces were thrown into disarray. For the first time since the invasion, the humans had a real chance at winning. But the victory was short-lived. As the humans celebrated their success, a chilling sound filled the air, a deep, terrifying roar that echoed across the battlefield. Elena's heart sank. It wasn't the sound of victory. It was the sound of a nightmare. Out of the smoke and chaos, the Zinthar revealed their secret weapon, a massive alien creature. It was unlike anything humanity had ever seen. Towering and monstrous, it moved with terrifying speed and power. Its eyes glowed with an eerie, predatory light, and its massive limbs could crush anything in its path. The creature let out a deafening roar, sending shockwaves through the battlefield. The humans had just won a battle, but the war was far from over. The creature was faster, stronger, and more deadly than anything they had faced before. Elena's team was already on edge from the previous fight, but this new threat was unlike anything they could have imagined. The Zinthar had kept this weapon hidden, waiting for the right moment to unleash it, and now it seemed unstoppable. Fall back. Elena shouted, but it was too late. The creature was already upon them, tearing through their defenses with ease. Soldiers were flung aside like ragdolls, their weapons useless against the creature's overwhelming force. Elena's heart raced as she watched the creature charge toward her team. They couldn't outrun it. They couldn't hide from it. "Captain," one of her officers shouted, "what do we do?" "We can't fight this thing." Elena knew they couldn't keep fighting the creature. They had a chance at defeating the Zinthar, but only if they could reach the command center. The only way to stop the invasion once and for all was to take out the heart of the Zinthar forces, their command center. It was a desperate move, but it might be their only chance. She turned to her team, her mind racing. "We make a choice," she said. "We can try to defeat this monster, or we can go for the command center. But we can't do both." The creature continued to rip through their ranks, its blood-curdling roars echoing in the distance. The decision was clear. If they didn't take out the Zinthar's command center now, they would lose everything. The creature could be dealt with later, but the Zinthar leadership needed to be crushed. Without it, the rest of their forces would fall apart. "Elena, are you sure about this?" one of her officers asked. "This creature is a nightmare. We may not survive long enough to get to the command center." "There's no other choice," Elena replied, her voice cold with determination. "We fight for the future of Earth. We push forward, or we lose it all." With a final glance at the rampaging creature, Elena led her team forward. They ran toward the Zinthar's command center, dodging blasts and explosions as they moved. The clock was ticking. Time was running out. The creature continued its destructive path, and the fate of humanity hung in the balance. Would Elena and her team be able to reach the command center in time, or would the creature destroy them before they had a chance to strike? The final battle was about to begin. The battle for Earth had come down to this moment, the final showdown. Humanity had fought and bled for this day, and now Captain Elena Rise and her team were about to face the ultimate challenge. The Zinthar had invaded, destroyed cities, and nearly wiped out humanity. They had unleashed a terrifying creature that had nearly crushed their last hope. But Earth was not done yet. The humans were determined to take back their world, no matter the cost. The time had come for the final assault. "We move out in 15, Captain Rice said, her voice steady. She looked at her team, each one of them battle-hardened, their faces grim but determined. The Zinthar had been relentless, and so had humanity. But now, they had a chance to end it once and for all. They had located the Zinthar's mothership, their command center, and if they could infiltrate it, they could destroy it from the inside. But the path to the mothership was fraught with danger. The monstrous alien creature still roamed freely, tearing through the remnants of Earth's defenses. It was unstoppable, nearly indestructible. If they were going to succeed, they had to defeat the creature, disable the mothership's systems, and do it all before the Zinthar realized what was happening. Captain Rise turned to her team. "We've been fighting for this moment for too long to back down now. Today, we take back our planet. Stay focused. Stay together." With that, they made their way toward the Zinthar's mothership. Every step felt heavy with the weight of their mission. Humanity had lost so much already. Families, cities, dreams, everything was at stake. As they neared the mothership, the ground shook beneath them. The creature, still rampaging through the area, was closer than they had anticipated. A wave of dread washed over the team, but Elena held firm. "Keep moving," she commanded. They infiltrated the mothership, fighting off Zinthar soldiers in their way. Each victory, each step closer to their target, brought a sense of determination. The team was moving fast, knowing that every second counted. But then, they found themselves face to face with the creature. It was massive, too massive to comprehend. It had hunted them for days, and now it was standing in their way. Its eyes glowed with an unnatural hunger, its body radiating an aura of power. Its very presence seemed to suck the hope out of the air. The creature roared, a terrifying sound that made the ground tremble. "Fall back!" One of Elena's officers shouted, but Captain Rise held her ground. She couldn't let fear take over now, not when they were so close. "We don't have time to run," Elena shouted back. She glanced at the weapon they had carried with them, the ancient artifact. It had powered their victories, but it was more than just a weapon. It had connected them to something deeper, something forgotten by time. The artifact had power beyond what they had ever understood, and this was the moment to unlock it. With the creature charging toward them, Elena held the artifact high. She focused all her energy, willing it to work. The air around them crackled with energy. Then, a massive burst of light erupted from the artifact, so powerful it blinded them all for a moment. The creature screeched, stumbling back, its body writhing in pain as the energy pulsed through it. One last effort. Elena concentrated harder, and with a final surge, the creature collapsed, its massive form crumbling to the ground. It was defeated, but the battle wasn't over. With the creature destroyed, Elena and her team moved deeper into the mothership. They planted explosives in the heart of the ship's core, the place that powered the entire Zinthar fleet. They knew this was their only chance. They had to destroy the heart of the Zinthar Empire, and they had to do it quickly. As they moved into position, alarms blared through the ship. Zinthar forces were scrambling, realizing what was happening. But it was too late. The team had reached the core. With a single command, Elena activated the final charge. The explosion was deafening. The mothership shook violently, and for a moment, time seemed to stand still. The Zinthar's fortress, this terrifying symbol of their power, began to collapse around them. "Move!" Elena shouted, and the team ran, barely escaping the destruction that followed. The Zinthar mothership crumbled into nothingness. A massive explosion sending shockwaves through the atmosphere. As the debris cleared, the world held its breath. The Zinthar forces were scattered, their command center destroyed. The once feared empire of the Zinthar was no more. For the first time in years, Earth was free. Humanity had won. Not because they were the strongest or had the best technology. No, it was because they refused to give up. They fought not just with weapons, but with their hearts, with their will to survive and to take back their home. The people of Earth cheered. They celebrated in the streets, their voices loud and filled with joy. They had reclaimed their planet. They had triumphed. But even as the celebrations continued, Captain Rise stood silently, looking up at the sky. The Zinthar were gone, but what else lurked beyond the stars? What other dangers would humanity face? The artifact was still in her hands, its secrets still hidden. There were mysteries to uncover, challenges to face. But one thing was certain: humanity had proven that they could survive. And now, they were ready for whatever came next. Earth was safe, for now. But the universe was vast, and it was only a matter of time before new challenges arose. Humanity had fought for survival. Now, they would fight to thrive.